Good morning, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Ranking the Albums. Today, we're going to take a look at the very short discography of a very cool U.S. band who debuted back in 1979 with a major label release on, Sony Columbia. The band was called Aviary. All right. If you, there's probably a good chance that many of you have never heard of Aviary, right? They kind of came out, had that first album, made some little waves, but, then started putting together stuff for their second album, which was probably even more progressive than the first. They got dropped from the label and they kind of disappeared seemingly forever, although they've resurfaced once again in recent years. But if you've never listened to Aviary before, have no idea who I'm talking about. Very cool band that kind of crossed that fine line between pop and progressive rock, something we generally call pomp, right? Pomp rock. Very kind of theatrical and pompous and loaded with keyboards and, Queen-styled vocal harmonies. I mean, the singer bradlove, he also played piano and some keyboards. It sounded very much like Freddie Mercury. I mean, the guys, here's the back of the debut album. That's what the guys look like, right? That's Mr. Love right there in the center. Totally looked the part, right? Looks like a star. If you can imagine, here's how I've always described Aviary. If Queen, ELO, 10cc, City Boy, The Beatles, Styx, and Deep Purple all participated in an orgy, Aviary would be the love child. All right, that's kind of the best way I can describe it. They're like, if you like bits of all those bands, that's what they sounded like. They were pretty progressive at times, but not overly progressive. They were definitely had their pop side to them, but they rocked a little hard, and their music was pretty complex. Right, so if that all sounds really good, I totally urge you to check these guys out. So I will admit, like back in the day, never heard of them. Right? It wasn't until they re-released their debut album that I got my hands on that I was like, whoa, I love this. And then basically what they did was they put out shortly thereafter all those recordings that they were getting ready for their second album. They released that as, many years later, their official sophomore or second release, and then they put out a third album back a couple of years ago in 2015. So I'm going to rank the three albums. The classic lineup of the band, like I mentioned, bradlove on lead vocals and piano, Paul Madden on keyboards and backing vocals, Kenny Stimance on Rickenbacker bass and backing vocals, Tony Bowen on guitars, and Richard Bryans on drums and backing vocals. And the current lineup of the band, or at least most current, who put together that 2015 album, is basically all of them minus, let's see, who do we got here? We got bradlove, Doug Love on bass, Tony Bowen and Richard Bryans are all back in the band, so I guess just Paul Madden is the one who's not with him. So I guess now bradlove is covering all the keyboards there. So I'm going to rank them as I like them here. Again, we're only talking about three albums, but three pretty good albums. So the first one I'm going to, coming in at number 3, is the one I do not have. And quite frankly, up until not long ago, I didn't even know that they released a third album. So they did this pretty quietly. And I'm surprised I didn't hear, because I'm really into these guys, and somehow this just kind of like bloop, slipped under the radar. But the album is called Heartless, released in 2015. Again, like I mentioned, you got bradlove, Doug Love, Toby Bowen, and Richard Bryans forming the band at this point. For the most part, they still sound kind of the same. And that's the kind of cool thing. I mean, a lot of the elements that carried over, you could listen to this album and think, wow, it's late 70s, early 80s all over again. You got Heartless, big soaring, kind of pop songs, got that pop majesty with some prog elements, coming from the keyboards and the guitars. The Flame has that familiar kind of quirky feel that the band always had. Their songwriting was always really quirky. Loads of backing vocals. That's, again, another one of the things I always loved about these guys is that, you've got most of the dudes in the band sang, backing vocals. You got bradlove's amazing lead vocals, and then you got all those layers of backing vocals underneath. So like I said, if you love like 10cc and Sparks and ELO, with the really rich, vocal bands, you're just going to love this stuff. It's really good. Garden of Eden is more of a moody hard rocker. It's kind of like, most of their music on the first two albums, really upbeat and uplifting. So it's kind of weird for me to hear more of a moody or darker piece. It's really different for the band. You've got Don't Follow, loaded with synths. It just takes me back to like the early, mid 80s, kind of like that post-new wave thing. Again, really different for the band. Army of Shadows, another darker piece. I like it. It blends hard rock and prog. But again, if you're used to that kind of really uplifting, upbeat type of musical palette that these guys always seem to kind of fall into, that and Garden of Eden are both a little different. Okay, a little moodier. Brad Love's vocals on this whole album are really good. He still sings really good. I remember he released a solo album a number of years ago that also was really good. What do we got here? We Could Be Lovers and Too Much Talk. Both kind of bland 80s style ballads, but they certainly have appeal if you like that sort of thing. So overall, I think for me, it's kind of a hit or miss album, but I think there's enough to recommend on it. Then they do dial in that classic sound on a good chunk of the song. So pretty good. I definitely like it, But then, there's a big, kind of gap in quality between that one and the other two. So coming in at number 2, and I could actually flip-flop either one of these because they're both really good. But I'm going to go with the second album, Ambition. Okay. Which, like I said, the recordings date back from 1975. I think there's 1 or 2 tracks that they recorded before the first album, but didn't make the first album. And then the rest of it was for the planned second album. So, between 1975 and 1979 is when all this material comes from. And released in 2003 as their, official second album or sophomore release, way after the fact. You've got Hello, which is a really, really wonderful song with intricate guitar and synths. Brad Love's ridiculously amazing vocals, which are kind of like Freddie Mercury meets Jeff Lynne. The sun, the sand, rocks, pretty progressive as well. You can hear the little elements of Yes and 10cc. You got You, great melodic upbeat pop song, absolutely killer hook. This is probably, arguably, the greatest song in their catalog, Desert Songs / Pharaoh's March. It's their big 11-minute long prog epic. It's pretty heavy, got some crunchy riffs, lots of Hammond organ. Brad Love's vocals are just like absolutely wailing, just really good. Excellent, excellent song. If you love kind of prog epics, you'll definitely dig this. I Should Have Known, crisp hard rocker. Eva's Birthday, that's one of the early tracks. That's kind of this weird kind of Queen 10cc pomp rocker. Very quirky, very bizarre, but kind of cool. If you love the over-the-top kind of vaudevillian vocals on it, I think you'll dig that. Yes and No is a good rocker, pretty complex, very proggy. The title track has lots of hooks, great keyboard work. All sorts of really, really good tracks on here. And, you can hear the elements of Styx on the more harder rock stuff, and definitely Queen and 10cc and ELO. Really good. I highly recommend it if you can check it out. Definitely cool stuff. But for me, I just kind of had to go with the debut here because, I don't know, maybe because I've listened to this so many times. This is the first one I heard. You can't go wrong with either of the first two. But self-titled Aviary. Kind of cool album cover, right? Again, just to show you the band. Like I said, they look like rock stars. I'm really surprised, when you listen to this album, that these guys just didn't completely take off. Really good stuff. Great vocal harmonies, loads of keyboards, tight guitar work. Most of the songs are really catchy. There's definitely lots of prog influence here. It's definitely some of the tunes rock. Feel the Heart. Big driving rhythms, hard rock riffs, excellent vocals from Brad Love, and lots of Hammond and synth. All right, Soaring, which is the kickoff track, amazing song. And the title is exactly what the song does. It's absolutely soaring. Gorgeous Queen-style vocal harmonies and piano. This is definitely, if Brad Love is going to say, hey, I'm a singer you need to kind of look at and take note of, Soaring is the song to listen to. What a chorus. You got Maple Hall, quirky, upbeat, hard rock, really good Rickenbacker bass lines. Again, if you love that Rickenbacker sound, you're going to love this stuff. Average Boy is like really clever 10cc as far as like the arrangements and the vocal harmonies and what have you. But it definitely, you can hear some like Yes and Gentle Giant moments going in there. You got Anthem for the USA, again, 10cc, ELO, maybe a little bit of Sparks. Very quirky, very eclectic, with the instrumentation. You got Puddles. Puddles is a really cool song because that is almost like kind of Think of Me with Kindness era Gentle Giant meets the Beatles, if that makes any sense at all. Wonderful little song, very keyboard heavy, lots of layers of lead and backing vocals. As close as you can get, total symphonic prog rock, but again, mixed in with some early Queen. Brad just sounds so much like Freddie Mercury at times. It's kind of crazy. You got Mystic Sharon, also ticks the kind of quirky pop and prog little box there. The vocal harmonies are absolutely stunning. Nice guitar work. I think if you love adventurous pomp rock, which is pompous, whatever, AOR, okay, bits of pop, bits of prog, this thing we call pomp. It's very kind of theatrical sounding. Lots of Hammond organ, synth. You got Mellotron on here. The vocal harmonies are just absolutely gorgeous. This is an album you'll want to hear. Released on a major label back in the day, but sadly they were dropped. I think this band had all the tools to be really big, but there's no reason why we still can't enjoy them to this day. So there you have it. So I'm going to go with the debut, Aviary at number 1, Ambition, their follow-up, number 2, and Heartless from 2015 is their number 3. So go check them out. If you've never listened to these guys, I highly recommend it. Lots to enjoy here. Lots to enjoy if you really love. Another band that comes to mind is like maybe Trillion. If you remember Trillion from late 70s, early 80s. Again, very similar. It's just really good pop rock music, but with loads of prog embellishments and really listenable. And, lots of references to other bands, right? So maybe not the most original music in the world, but if you don't mind that, check it out. So visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. See you guys later tonight with Top 10 Song Show featuring Sydney Taylor from the Hudson Valley Squares and myself doing our favorite 10 songs of Black Label Society. You don't want to miss it. So we'll see you then. Take care. Bye-bye.